Good evening. This is the Elliott wave update for the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500 for Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. I'm going to begin here on the NASDAQ, and I'm going to just really start on the 1-hour chart. On the larger picture, absolutely no changes. So we're really dealing with this development of and the follow through on the developing minor third wave. That minor third wave began up here at 15,850, and thus far, if we remember, within minor 3 there will be 5 waves of minute degree, and right now we've done 1, 2, and today it does appear that we did finally put that minuet wave 5 in that completed the minute third wave. And so that launch off of today's low at 14,586, that was the tell. That was the give in putting the labeling into place, and because the surge, and then it ended up forming 5 very quick 5 waves up, which again gives us that additional confirmation. Okay, the end of wave 3. Now, what that does also tell us about wave 4 is that we can put our fibs in, and we can see that we have our resistance levels at 14,853, 15,019, that's 382. That's the most common. I always will include 50% in case we get that throw over, which the NASDAQ can do very often. They get a little bit carried away and they just push even a little bit harder. What else we have in the way now? Let's fill in those blanks. But first, let me finish up. Now, when we're looking at this, our most common, when Elliott told us, is 0.382. But also Elliott said that a 4th wave will find its terminus, its endpoint, within the price territory of the previous 4th wave of 1 lesser degree. I'm in a minute 4, 1 lesser degree is the minuet 4, and that brings us down to 14,957.58. But I'm going to give it that it can get all the way up to 15,019, which also happened to have been a 4th wave. But it was a 4th wave inside the minuet, wave 3. So again, we've got 2 levels, both fit. Then we have our moving averages that I'm going to add in. We got up to penetrated, went above the 50 period, the hourly 50 period moving average this afternoon, as the market rolled itself higher very quickly, by the way. So we went from 14,586 to 14,820 in, I would say, half hour, maybe, I think even less. I'd have to go back and look at my short-term charts. And then pulled back over 100 points. And then started to rally again, right into the bell. And now after the bell, we continue to kind of just push a little bit higher. It's very interesting to watch how the algorithms function and what goes on. And because this decline was strong, it was very persistent coming off. And that was after the Globex highs. And pretty much from the start of our session, the US session, they just started hitting it. Now, it wasn't the easiest to trade. Again, the big thing here, as we roll through this end of the quarter, window dressing, position squaring, whatever label we want to attach to that, as this continues, the moves on the NASDAQ are what I would call herky and jerky. They herk up, they jerk down, or they go in both directions, but it's just right out of the blue, or suddenly it'll just drop 10 or 15 NASDAQ points and then quickly just retake 15 or 20. And it's just as these orders are coming into the market, and often it's within a particular stock, or a large number of options are trading in another one of the underlying. And so the hedge just kind of gets put through immediately. And so that'll happen frequently as we get closer to that expiration. And as gamma flies in both directions, right? So you get the gamma flow going, and then you get all those adjustments going. And, as the gamma flows really do increase or decrease, it forces traders to make adjustments. So they'll be selling into weakness, buying into strength. And as a trader, that's not necessarily what you always want to do. But in any case, when you get the gamma flows going, that's kind of what can happen. Back to this picture. So one of the gives for me today was the fact that the market, and again, I'm going to go to the 5-minute chart because that's where it happened. Mind you, I'm just looking for a small, minute fourth wave. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a beautiful structure. That's a classic 5 waves. You're not going to see that on the hourly chart. Probably don't even see it on the 30-minute chart. Maybe not even the 15. Maybe on the 15. But on the 5-minute chart, clear as a bell. So when you start to see this, it's like, yep, you come in as a trader. Come in, you start buying. You go along with them in the futures market, right? Or the TQs, or you're selling in the SQs, whatever product you're using and how that relates to the future, the NQ, you can really trade it along. But the forming of the 5 put a little bit of a stronger point to that level, 14,586, which was the low. Today's low, to put a minute wave 3 underneath that. So you got a minuet wave 5, minute wave 3, and now we're coming up. And now what it's telling us about this fourth wave, it should be 5, 3, 5. Now, 5 came very quickly. This low was at, well, my time here on the Pacific Coast, 10:40 in the morning or 1:40 in the afternoon in New York. And the high came at 12:10. So an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 30 minutes, hour and a half, bam, right there. That's pretty quick for 5. And then if it's a 5, 3, 5, ABC could be done. Could be. Maybe this is A, this is a B, and we get that C wave. Could be. But if not, the way that it kind of launched off that low again, it's getting ready to put its next 5 waves up to form wave C. Mind you, 14,853, then 15,019, and we have some additional, but we just can't see it as I open this up. Where's that fourth wave? Right there. So again, what also you can do, if you're an intraday trader, you can run fibs. If we're thinking like what we're looking for, and I think, okay, this could be AB and we're looking for that C, I can go from here, oops, not like that, here, to here, to here, if that's the B wave. And look at that. C equals A at 14,937. Let's go take a look. Here's that 4, 14,955. 937 just below it. You're going to continually see how Elliott and fibs work very closely and well together and giving you targets. Our first one was like just following what Elliott wrote about for year after year after year, and that a fourth wave in progress, a fourth wave will often find its terminus, its endpoint, within the price territory of the fourth wave of one lesser degree. We're in a minute, we're looking at the minuet. That's right there. And then I get 100% coming in right here. It's like, wow, pretty cool. So there is the most common fib, 0.382. So if we get a little bit of throw over and we get a little bit of throw over this, then that likely is going to cap it. But if we get another strong 5 up like we did here, well, then minute 4 could be over before we even get around the globe and everybody giving everybody a shot at what they want to do. What comes next after that? A lot of people are think, well, that was a very bullish move. It actually was, but it's a 5-minute bullish move. So again, keep everything in perspective. It does show that that this likely was a low, and it is. And now we're going to go up and we're going to finish that, and we're going to come back down in a minute 5th wave to complete. I'm going to go back out to my hourly chart to complete minor 3. So what do we got on board for minor 3? I'm definitely looking for a move back down below 14,396. That's just where minor 3 would be equal to minor 1. And I actually want a little bit more than that. I talk about it all the time. I always prefer that wave 3 come in immediately before we get to wave 5, that wave 3 comes in as the longest, at least over wave 1. So if wave 5 ends up being truly extended, and no matter the direction, becomes truly extended, at least we know that we're safe in terms of 1, 3, and 5. 3 cannot be the shortest. So if I already got that built in, and then I'm going to be comfortable for whatever 5 wants to bring. But if the equal or less, then it puts a lot of pressure on your count. So in any case, and now back here on the hourly, we can see 14,937, not all that much, is it? From where we are, we finish it, excuse me, turn and begin to head lower. Once I do get minute wave 4 in, I will make the calculations, right? And there I'm just using fib extensions, comparing wave 5 to wave 1. So I already know the distance of wave 1, and I get that to that, and then bring it down to wherever this ends up. Now I have my fibs for that 5th wave going back down. And now what's going to be the most common? Equality. What's equality? 100%. Where wave 5 would be equal to 100% of wave 1. That's equality. That's the most common. What's the second most common? Basically 1.618. The third most common is 0.618. But as long as 0.618 were to be breaking and putting in a new low below what we did today, I probably could live with it and go with what the structure then tells me. But we're looking for it to come below here, 14,396. But for the naysayers, they're like, oh, never going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Really? What did you think about all that? Did we think this was or wasn't going to happen? Did we think today was or not going to happen? We started higher. Overnight, they were just buying, buying, buying. So we had to keep alive that, okay, this small wave could just continue up, back up towards here, and then maybe drop. But it didn't. It dropped, and then it dropped fast. And it actually broke several levels. We had several, support levels that it kind of came down and went below. First I had to get below 14,700. Then it got below 14,600. And it started the day above 14,800. So intraday, we had over a 200-point down move, followed by a 120-point up move. That's volatility. That's great trading. That's opportunity. Both directions. Just stay open for it. Just stay open and ready and just participate. And you should make money. Again, as I say, a little bit more difficult in the NASDAQ because of everything that we got coming in, because it's the end of the month, it's the end of the quarter, it's a Friday expiration, et cetera, et cetera. And so we get a lot of rotation going on. And again, they're in stocks like NVIDIA. And today, Apple traded below 170 for a greater portion of the day. Meta at one point, closing down $1.22, was up 4 or 5, went down, was down 11, and then flipped back to being up. Those are wild moves, folks. Those are wild and crazy. Driving an index lower and then flipping it and turning it and running it higher as they run back into these stocks. And it's just the rotation out versus the rotation back in, buyer versus seller, et cetera, et cetera. And I happen to, again, believe that a lot of that is just it's the exact same player. So in other words, it's the same hedge fund, it's the same mutual fund, it's the same asset managers, larger groups. And because I believe the way things are constructed these days, you can't pair your orders off. You can't say, oh, this is great, let's just go down and print 500,000 shares at this price. They don't let you do that anymore. So again, it provides a lot of opportunity to day traders, swing traders, et cetera, but you got to stay on your toes. You got to stay on your toes and you have to really manage your risk, but there's a lot of opportunity. So again, finishing up here in the NASDAQ before I go over to the S&P. I am going to continue to look for the upside. We now have our position. We have our limits of where we can go. And I probably will, let's make our adjustments here. I'm going to take those two off and we're just going to leave that. So to clean up the chart, So the 100%, which is, that's what I'm looking for. C equals A right there. And then above that, we have the 382 for the minute 4, and that comes in at 15,019. We have the previous 4 at 14,960, 958, 960. So we have resistance, 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 plus moving averages in there in between. So it's pretty well lined up. Everything's still heading lower in terms of our moving averages. The only one that are really going to respond are the 4, the 8, and possibly the 20. Kind of starts to turn a little bit and goes flat. Over in the S&P, same story, same deal. We're in that minor wave 3. We've got minute 1, 2, and today finally put in that minute 3rd wave. Same deal here. Let's go back over to that 5-minute chart. Let's open it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, this is perfect. This is classic 5 waves. Yep, on a 5-minute chart, I go back out to the hourly chart. You're like, what are you talking about? That doesn't look like it. That doesn't look like 5 to me. But boy, was it clean and nice when you got down to this 5-minute chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ABC, 1. Very, very possible. Very, very possible. Or is it A, B, and we'll get a C wave and we'll come back down towards this level and then start higher? Very possible. I'm going to go back out to that hourly chart. We're going to open this up a little bit. Here are our fibs for our 4th wave. Most common 0.382 is 4387.4. Previous 4th wave just below it at 4385. So S&P matches up even cleaner fibs to previous 4th. Very, very clean. Same level. So again, I'm looking for a 535. Now, just bring this in just a little bit more. And I can't really tell on that B wave, but let's go here and just say if it is. I'm going to use that same what I did over in the NASDAQ. I'm going to put it down. We're going to put that there. If this is done, if that is done, go back out to the hourly so we can see it. 143.56. That's kind of on the low side because we're really looking for this to get up a little bit higher. But 1.618, 43.88. So now we have a cluster right here. And that is going to give more strength. That's likely the target. Okay. So here it's a standalone. It very well can be possible if indeed we finish A, which I believe we did. We get a B wave, which doesn't go down any further than what it did this afternoon. Then A equals C at 43.56. It works. It fits. It doesn't necessarily have to come all the way up to here, but I have a stronger cluster of the previous 4th, 38%, and 1.618 for the C wave, all fitting nice and cleanly within an Elliott picture for that 4th wave. So that's where I'm going to leave that. There's where we have, but that's where I think we end up. So very strong that actually, if we go back to the NASDAQ, that it could get up there as well to 1.618 in terms of the C wave. It'll be a little bit higher, but NASDAQ is noted for like overextending itself and shooting for the stars in all directions, just as these algorithms fire and just throw these orders out. And everything just turns into a free-for-all, and boom, the next thing you know, you're off to the races in both directions, by the way. In any case, moving average wise, everything looks the same. We can push this out to the daily, and we want to take a look to see what happened today. Look what it did. kablooey. That happened yesterday. We broke below that daily 200. We came down and touched the daily SMA, the 200 SMA. Closed right back above it. So we got below today, we got that kaboom, right, which is the follow through kaboom here, boom, rally back up, and then we're going to come back one more time. We still have to put a -5 in to complete the -3. We're going to rally again, and then we're going to go back again and likely break it. So it'll be 1, 2, 3 times broken as the sequence works its way out and finishes, right? So let me walk through that. 1, 2, 3. This is the break. First time in a third wave. We rally in 4, likely come back above it. Wait, -5 to complete -3, going to take us back down. We go again, and then we drop back even further. And then we are finished with -3. We have a -4, takes us back above, and a -5 brings us back and does it again. And we're going to be playing around this 200 up and down, and we're going to get the same reaction. That's just kind of the way it is. But we're likely to get the same reaction. This actually wasn't as tense as I thought, but the selling today, the breaking through of resistance, did kind of contribute in my mind. It's like, oh, well, we're breaking those moving averages. Well, they're getting out, time to make our adjustment. We're getting out. We'll do it now. And so it all kind of fit. Whether the individual sellers were going like, oh, you know what, that 200 SMA broke on that in the S&P today on the daily. Oh, I'm selling. I just think it was just a give in terms of everything that was going on. That was the time of day that they had made the decision that they're coming in and they're making their adjustments to a portfolio. Just happened to coincide with what was going on with the moving averages. But we tend to get the move when they occur. That's kind of my point. Again, like Elliott, can't tell you what's going to create the move, but we tend to get it. When you see this stuff happen, the moves usually will follow. All right, so back down to that hourly recap real quick, what we can look for tomorrow. Just economic number-wise, we have initial jobless claims, GDP, pending home sales, and the Fed chairman himself tomorrow at 4 p.m. Yeah, that's kind of a chicken, isn't it? You're going to come out and talk at the close? Aren't you the lucky one, Mr. Powell? But we also have a Fed Governor Cook. He or she will be speaking at 1 p.m. Eastern. So GDP, initial jobless claims at 8:30 Eastern, pending home sales 10 a.m. I'm not looking for pending home sales to be anything stellar. I mean, they tend to be knocking them down because home sales are slowing down because interest rates are ticking up. Blah, blah, blah. We already know. Friday, we do have personal income and spending and that wonderful PCE. Interesting that Powell's going to come out and speak on Thursday afternoon, and PCE comes out on Friday morning. Okay, it'll all be interesting. Let's see what happens. So again, have a couple of numbers tomorrow, and then we have to wait all day for Mr. Powell. So again, I'm looking for this to kind of finish, and maybe it'll do it overnight. And we've seen that before. This happened overnight, and then by the time we got in, they were like, okay, we're just going to start selling now, and they did. So we're going to have to wait and see. But I'm looking for, we got 43, 45, 56. We have this at 80, 283, and then we have resistance at 87, 89. Fib, previous fourth, fib. All right, everybody, have a really great evening. And our next update will be on Thursday, September the 28th.